Would you like to design your very own dialogue interaction using the conversation device inside of UEFN? Well, you're in the right place because in this video, I will cover everything you need to know about how it works, and at the end, we'll design a custom UI that you can use inside of your island. All of the assets, including the finished UI, will be available for completely free inside of my Discord server. You can join by clicking the very first link in the description. Alright, so I have a very simple scene here. There are no devices except for these player spawners here, and I'm going to be using it to help demonstrate what's going on. The very first thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to search for a conversation device inside of the content browser. Essentially, what the conversation device is it's a pre-packaged dialogue manager, and what I mean by that is there are a few different options of some pre-made UI, and some of the settings that are available are there's the conversation type, there is radial, box, and custom. There's the speaker name, so I'm going to go ahead and set this to Peely. Just like that. Show name when nearby. I'm going to check that. That basically just means, do you want it to display the name physically in the world when the player gets close? There's also the indicator bubble and the indicator bubble range. So I'm going to set this to something like 3 meters. I'm also going to disable the conversation text in world space just because I don't really want it in this case, but it will physically show what's happening in the conversation in the world. You can also control the number of conversations that are allowed. So in this case, you can go all the way up to 100. I'm just going to leave it for 1 right now. There's also the maxed name, which basically just displays when a player walks up to the NPC or the conversation device and somebody is already talking to it, or the maximum number of people are talking to it already. This is what it'll say. I'm just going to leave this as default for right now because it's just me. And if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, you'll notice that it says conversation. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you exactly how to build your own conversation. So you first want to right click, go to gameplay, and then click conversation bank. So I'm just going to do combo underscore Peely, just like that. And when you double click it, you'll be presented with the conversation editor. So the first thing that you want to do is right click anywhere inside of this editor, and we need to first do an entry point. So this entry point is basically just the very beginning of the conversation tree. You can drag an arrow out of the bottom, and there's a big list of things. You will mostly be working with speech and response. So I'm going to go ahead and click speech, and let's go ahead and type in greetings. My name is Peely. It's awfully quiet out here, don't you think? After you type that in, you can see that there's a little preview right here, and it also has a new output for some nodes. So I'm going to go ahead and add a response just like this, and I'm going to type in, what are you doing out here? I don't know, we can get a little silly with this. We can add another one as well. So this is going to be response number 2. Let's go ahead and say backs away slightly. Just like that. And you can see here that there are multiple output paths for the same node. What we can do is we can have as many of these as we want. It is important to know though that depending on the type of widget that you have, the radial menu has 5 maximum response slots. The box option has an unlimited number of response slots. And the custom UI that we're going to design later, it has a maximum of 6. So just keep that in mind when you're working on this. I'm not really sure what happens if you have more responses than are allowed, but just keep in mind that you can only display 5 of them or 6 of them at a time if you're using the radial or the custom widgets. So something else that we can do as well is there's this thing called the random node, and it will randomly pick one of its outputs. So in this case, we could do the response where it says backs away slightly. We could have a speech bubble right here. We could be like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you. Would you like to buy my strawberry smoothie? And then we could also have another one over here that is another speech that says, sorry, where are my manners? What's your name? And so now what it will happen is that if the player backs away slightly, it will actually pick one or the other. It is a completely even chance, so it is a 50-50 shot. But if you're anything like me and you want to stay organized, you can actually double click on the lines here and it will create a node. So what I did is, if you click on it, it's a little weird, but if you position your mouse just right, you can actually move them around. And so it's really convenient because you can actually just organize your nodes exactly how you want them to without it getting cluttered. In this case, I could have it jut out to the side and then down so that it is very clear on exactly what's going on. And so another thing that we can do to stay organized is select a bunch of nodes at the same time and press C to create a sticky note. And I'm going to say random speech results or something like that. And now this entire thing will move together. You can change the color of it. You can also change the size of it as well if you want it to be like super big, or if you want it to be whatever fits your project, whatever fits your needs. So the next thing that I want to talk about is the restart node. So there's a node in here called restart conversation, and you might notice that it won't let you connect it to either of these no matter what happens. And so the reason why is because we actually have to add in a response, and when this happens it will start over the entire conversation. And so a good example of like what you could put here is the wait, what did you say? And then when they click this, it will start it completely over from the very beginning. So what I've done here is I've added a couple responses to the would you like to buy my strawberry smoothie? I have a no thanks, and I also have a sure. And so what we can actually do here is we can connect multiple speech nodes to the same response. So in this case, I'm going to put this one here and this one here. And now together, both of these speech nodes all route to the same thing. So they are both presented with the question of, do you want to buy a strawberry smoothie? So if we want to actually send a signal out depending on what the player says, we can go ahead and use conversation events. The way that we do this is we drag it out like this, and then we click conversation event. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this over here, and I'm going to set this to conversation event number 2. Currently, I believe there are 10 different event numbers that are available, and every single one has a unique signature. So what we can do here is let's go back to the viewport. Let's do exit conversation, and let's set this on conversation event 1, just like that. When this happens, it will listen to itself and it will end the conversation because this is the response for the no thank you. And if they want to do event number 2, we can then add in a trigger like this, and we can then bind the trigger to the on conversation event 2. And I'm also going to duplicate this binding here and do conversation device on conversation event 2 as well, because I do want the UI to close, and it will also fire the trigger as well. And speaking of devices, I'm going to add in a button device just like this, and I'm going to click on the conversation device, and I'm going to initiate the conversation when the button gets pressed. And so this is how we can open the conversation using verse or using devices. And this will start the conversation. This will listen if the sale is made. And both events that we just created right here will close the conversation as well when it reaches that point. Also, make sure that when you're inside of the conversation device, it's important that you actually drag the conversation into the field right here, or else it won't actually bind correctly. But once you have this created and this is right here, I'm going to go ahead and launch a session to demonstrate kind of what we've got so far. All right, so now that we're in game, let's go ahead and give it a try. So I interact and he says, greetings, my name is Peely. It's awfully quiet out here, don't you think? And we have our 2 dialogue options, so I'm gonna back away. You know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you. Would you like to buy my strawberry smoothie? If we say no, nothing happens, the dialogue closes. But if we do that again, well, oh, see, okay, so now, there we go. We got the random to work, so now it's asking, what's my name? I'm not telling you that. So then it closes, but if we get presented with a strawberry smoothie, and we decide we do want it, we can see that the trigger actually gets triggered just like that. All right, so that's basically everything you need to know about the conversation device. However, if you want some custom UI, stick around and I'm going to show you exactly how to create your own custom UI for this conversation device. It's super easy. I'll walk you through it step by step, so don't even worry. There's no code, no verse. Let me show you what we got to do. Alright, so now that we are back in the viewport, go ahead and right click, do user interface, widget blueprint, and make sure you click the model dialog variant. If you click the user widget, it will not work. You have to do the dialog variant option. I'm going to name it WBP combo Peely. Just like that. So what we want to do is drag in a canvas panel just like this. I'm also going to drag in an overlay. I'm going to control shift click the bottom middle anchor just like that. And I'm also going to set the Y position to -100, and I'm going to size to content as well. Inside of there, I'm going to add an image just like this. I'm going to set the alignment to fill on both axes with a fully black color and an opacity of 0.5. I'm also going to draw it as a rounded box with a fixed radius of 16, just like this. After that, I'm going to add a stack box inside of the overlay, and this is going to have a text box inside of it. We want to make sure that the stack box is vertical and it is centered horizontally. Going back to the text block, I'm just going to temporarily name this as name. This will be the name of the NPC or whoever is speaking with this conversation device. Below that, I'm going to add a size box, and it's going to have a width override of 600. Oops, I forgot to center the text in the middle like that. Inside of the size box, I'm going to add another text block, and this is going to be called the body. Just like that. And if we scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a setting called auto wrap text. And what this does is if there ends up being like a ton of text, so if we just type in a bunch of gobbledygook, you know, like that, it will wrap the text accordingly and it won't spill out of the sides. Inside of the stack box that we have, I'm going to add another stack box so that it is below the size box like this. And I'm going to add two quiet buttons just like this. And I'm going to set the horizontal and vertical alignment to center. I'm also going to add a padding of 24 just like this. And I'm going to say response 1, and I'm going to duplicate it like that, and I'm going to have this say response 2. I also want the body to have a padding of 8, and I want the name to have a padding of 8 as well, like that. So in terms of the visual design, this is everything that you would need. Remember, you are going to have multiple buttons. So in this case, I only have 2 because of the dialog tree that we made. However, if your dialog tree has more than 2 possible options at any point, you will need to have multiple buttons. So the maximum for a custom UI is 6. So you can really just duplicate that stack box right there, and then this is what it'll look like. So it'll show the name, the body, and then here are the 6 response types. I'm going to go ahead and delete that for right now because I don't need it. So in order to link these widgets to the conversation device, it's actually really easy. So I'm going to start with the name. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to add a binding just like this. I want to click on it and click text, and I then want to click here, go creative model dialog, and I want to get all the way at the bottom. It'll say title. So this title will be the name of the speaker. The body, I'm going to click on this right here, and I'm going to add a binding. I'm going to get the text for this as well, and I'm going to again go to creative model dialog, and I'm going to click body just like this. The buttons are a little bit more complicated, but don't worry, it's super easy. All you have to do is first click on the button and add a binding to it. I am going to click on the button, and I'm going to do on clicked. There's this event button here, which is new, got added recently. So I'm going to click this. I'm then going to click creative model dialog, and I'm going to scroll down until I see response, click select. I'm then going to do button 1. I did notice that they added 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the buttons. I haven't actually messed around with it, so that's why I'm saying that there is a maximum of 6. Then you want to click 1, just like that. I then want to click this little plus button here, and I want to then do the text right here. Click select, and I want to again go to the creative model dialog, and I want to do button 1 main text. And so what this is going to do is it will update the text of the button to actually say what the response is. And finally, what we need to do is click the plus icon one more time, and we're going to do the visibility. So click on the button visibility right here and click select, and then we then want to do creative model dialog, and then we want to do button 1 visibility, just like this. And essentially what this is doing is, so if there are 2 buttons or 6 buttons or what have you, but there's only one response for that particular part of the conversation, the other 5 will be hidden. So this is a really good way of managing everything. Go ahead and do all of these bindings over again for as many buttons as you have. So right now I just did this first one. I'm going to go ahead and do all of those bindings over again with the second one, and then I'll see you over in the viewport. Also, one thing I'll say is that each button has its own path. So button 2, you want to make sure that that's button 2 text, button 2 visibility. All of these bindings that we have for button 1, just do 2 instead. All right, so now what you want to do is click on the conversation device and scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll see a model widget field right here. We can go ahead and just drag it in like that. Also, one more thing that you need to do is scroll up and set the conversation type to custom. Once you've done that, go ahead and push changes. All right, so now that we're in Git, we can go ahead and walk up to Peely. Greetings, my name is Peely. Yeah, you can see here that it says, you know, the buttons work correctly, and it updates the text, the name, the body, and it will update everything. It looks like I messed up the UI a little bit here, and so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do a quick fix. Make sure you set the horizontal alignment to center, and I don't know, you could do vertical alignment in the center as well. So that'll just fix the like weird kind of stuff going on right there. But other than that, that is everything for the custom UI. It all works correctly. You know, everything that we set up with the conversation device. You can go super crazy with the custom UI. This is just a very simple explanation on how to like bind it and how to get it set up properly. Other than that, I just wanted to say thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you have any questions or suggestions, go ahead and leave them down below. I read every single comment. If you like this video, I would appreciate a like. If you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, go ahead and drop a subscribe as well. Again, thank you so much, and I hope this helps. Peace.